r/AskReddit by Reddify. What situation were you in where the outcome was questionable/risky, and you just decided and said, fuck it, and went with the risky choice? How did that turn out for you? I went out for a hike, and somehow along the way I had lost the keys to my car, and it had started raining heavily, and now I was stranded by my car with no way to get in. And since this was several years ago, I didn't have a cell phone. I was weighing my options, figuring out where I could walk to find a payphone, when someone asked if I needed a ride. Everything about the situation said I should say no. I was alone. No one knew where I was. And hitching a ride with a stranger in an old, beat-up pickup is a classic way to end up a missing person. But I was cold and wet, and not wanting to make a long hike in the hopes of finding a phone. So I hopped in. Turns out, he was just a nice guy willing to give a ride to my place and then back to my car. And it gets better. Along the way he was telling me about the charity group he worked for, and it really sparked my interest. And seeing that my construction skills would fit in with what they were doing, I decided to apply. I ended up moving to Southern Africa, where I would spend some of the best years of my life, meeting my future wife, making great friends, etc. The entire path of my life would be completely different if I had never gotten into that truck. That said, I'm not endorsing hitchhiking with random strangers. I found a posting for my dream job, except it only was 20 hours a week rather than 40. I said screw it and applied. I got the job, and I was able to drop down to 20 hours at the old job and 20 hours at the new job. 3 months later, they offered me 40 hours at the new job and a sizable pay bump. 10 years later, I've been promoted 5 times, and I'm making more than double my starting wage. I'm so happy I took the risk with the hours. I don't trust easily, nor do I build relationships quickly. But I went on a date with a guy and things went incredibly, almost like in a movie. We were so compatible, and he had me laughing and smiling all through dinner. He was courteous, opened all the doors for me, etc. After dinner we went to my house and watched a movie and had a bottle of wine. We were making jokes about the stupid movie scenes and having a great time. I have never had first date sex because I viewed it as a risk, both health-wise and emotionally, because I bond a lot through sex. I decided to do it, though. We had sex on our first date. It's about a year and a half later now, and we live together. He's sound asleep next to me in bed. He makes me happier than any man I've ever met. If you are enjoying the video, please give a thumbs up and leave a comment. Join my Discord server, link in the description. I was working through an extremely demanding emergency in a university department with a very capable co-worker. We resolved it successfully against many difficulties. The director of the department personally sought me out to offer congratulations and compliments. I decided fuck it. I'm going to tell him the truth, which was that I put in a lot of effort. But the real person who deserved credit was my co-worker, not me. He looked at me for a second and said, son, many people wouldn't have said that the way you did. The next time we have management opening, it's yours if you want. Vacationing in DC with some friends last year. Marijuana laws are shady AF out there. It's legal to smoke/have/gift, but not legal to sell it. So we googled around and found an underground collective. You had to text them, and they would send you back an address. So we get the address and call an Uber. We are 5 nerdy white guys in town for a Protest the Hero show to help you picture us. Well, we notice we are driving into the rather unsavory portion of DC. Like, boarded up windows and bars over those that aren't boarded and graffitied up. We decide we really don't want to get out here. But our Uber driver essentially kicks us out. We immediately get swarmed by a group of 5 gangster-looking people hitting us up for cigarettes and money. We weasel our way away and start walking towards the address. No car or transportation with pockets full of cash for some weed in the ghetto. Well, we get to where we were supposed to go, a boarded up shop front with a 6'4", 300-pound guy with dreads waves us over. We walk up to him, and he apparently knew why we were there. He takes us inside to a windowless lobby and tells us to get out our wallets. Immediately knew we were getting fucking robbed and possibly worse. I've seen The Wire and knew what's not did in buildings like this. I hand him my wallet and he rolls his eyes and says, "Get your ID out, fool." He verifies we are all 21 and then opens a solid metal door. It was like a fucking movie. He opens the door and Snoop Dogg is playing and there are 10 tables set up in a circle full of high quality bud and edibles and all sorts of things. We make our rounds, buy a bunch of stickers and pens, got gifted our associated weed gifts for making purchases, got the fuck out and got an Uber back to our Airbnb and proceeded to smoke till we couldn't move. That was a roller coaster of emotions, going from being so sure I was about to die to my first legal weed experience. I moved to another country to live with my then girlfriend. It was always going to have risks, and indeed we broke up 9 months after moving in together. It's now 12 months after the breakup and I have a new job, which happens to be the highest paid job I've ever had. New friends, a new partner, I'm buying my first house, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. That risky choice led me to a dark place for a few months, but I came back swinging. Short story. 200% worth it. I was pretty hopelessly in love with my best friend of 5 years. I was so afraid that if I told him he would act awkward or he would leave me. I was also afraid that we might try dating and it wouldn't work out. One day I got the most courage I ever had and I told him. To my surprise, it wasn't awkward at all. And now we are getting married, so I guess risking it all does work out sometimes. Someone said fuck it and gave 5 platinum. Decided to risk a fart when I wasn't feeling too well at school. I suddenly had to go to the nurse's office and then home for some odd reason. I flirted with a friend's ex, girl A, who he treated like shit after he started dating a new girl B. We got into a big fight over it, but I started dating girl A anyways. We got over our fight and he's now engaged to girl B and I'm engaged to girl A. So I think it worked out pretty well, all things considering. Returning to rugby after my second ACL tear. I absolutely love rugby. It was the best part of my life at that point in time. A year later I tore my ACL for the 3rd time. No one was surprised. A couple of family members won some money based off the bets they made, not on whether it would happen, but how soon. Thanks guys. I don't regret it in the slightest. My knee was already fucked. It's still fucked, but I got another season and a half of playing. And I scored my first try in that time. People love to say I told you so, but I knew what I was getting into. I didn't let it slow me down. I agreed to marry a guy who would take me far away from my abusive family. I'd known him for just a couple years and didn't love him. I'm sure he didn't love me either, but he did take me far away from dangerous people. We were married for 10 years. During that time I did everything I could to make him happy, to thank him in any way that I could for saving my life. But we had our share of problems. He'd always liked to drink, but over the years he turned into an alcoholic. When I realized that I was no longer safe with him, I left. We still see each other almost every day and help each other out in our day-to-day lives. We have 1 child together. He stopped drinking, and for a while we talked about canceling the divorce process, but it's not going to happen. I don't regret my decision to marry him one little bit. We buy each other groceries, share meals, laugh, watch movies together, go on vacations, do projects together, help each other financially on the rare occasions when we need to, etc. Did way more hits of acid than I normally did back in the late 90s. I went nuts. My friends haunted me with belts, and I tried to bite my thumb off. Back in my scooter die phase, I tried to jump down 16 stairs on my scooter. I had done 12 previously, but never 16. I was really nervous and knew it was risky, but one day I was feeling confident, so I just went for it. I broke my toe on my first try and retired from extreme scootering. Still would cruise around with friends, but didn't do any more big stair gaps. Edit, spelling. Had one of those tests where you're supposed to answer between 2 answers, left or the right, yes or no questions. I did not know a single answer, so I just went fuck it and put every answer on the same lane. Got 7 out of 11 questions right, so suck it USA education system. I was in need of money to pay off a loan that was going to double if I didn't pay it by a certain date. McDonald's pay enough to meet my deadline. After debating with myself, I decided to be a cam model and was one for 2 months. I paid off the loan relatively quickly but continued camming. It was easy money for the small amount of time I invested into it.